Good Friday morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing okay. Brother John asked me to fill in for him today, and always glad to help out. And let's still remember him. Sister Teresa's brother, as most of you probably know, passed away. So let's continue to keep them in our prayers. And gosh, Christmas is almost here. Just a few days away, and everyone's rushing around. And I guess I wasn't able to be in church this past Sunday, but Jason done a great job. And he was talking about God with us, and he went back in the Old Testament and talked about the foretelling of Christ coming and the birth of Christ. And the guys have touched on it, done a great job all week. And I guess Josh, talked about for us to pause and take a moment. And I hope we can all do that, but I was going to go somewhere a little different with it as far as, and we celebrate the birth of Christ, which is the greatest birth ever to all mankind. But what does that? The birth was the start of his purpose for coming, and that was to go to Calvary for us. And when you think about that, and so it is a great time, and it's time. I hope we can all slow down and enjoy time with our families. I know I look forward to. My kids are all coming here for Christmas Eve, and we'll get together and have a big time. But it is good if we can stop and think on that. But if we can even go further with that and think what the purpose of that was, and that was for him to come and walk on this earth and come in the form of a man to live and die for us and for our sins. And it gives, and then the hope we have past this life. And I think about, I was thinking about that. When I think about that, and I guess to go a place with this is, how do we run our race? And I thought about Sister Peggy, just a dear saint in our church, just passed away a couple days ago, and I've been thinking about her a lot and how she run her race and how she finished, and even though as she's gotten up in age and having trouble with her eyesight, and she's always been faithful to be in church. And I've been at Mount Olive 31 years now, and her brother Eddie were there when I was saved, started there, and just always very faithful. Taught a lot of kids come through Mount Olive. She taught her children, and taught her pastor. Her pastor sat under, and Bob Marie, several of those. But just a good, godly woman, and we need to remember her. And I was thinking, a lot of times the Bible talks about the cares of the world when it gets into the soul, and how if we're not careful, we'll let the things of this world choke us down to where we'll get to where we're not running very well. And I was thinking about, so it took me over to Hebrews, and it says, and this is chapter 12, it says, "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight and every sin that does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us." And I was thinking about Sister Peggy. She run with patience and just steady throughout her whole life. And it goes on to say, "Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despised the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endureth such contradiction of sinners against himself, or opposition of sinners against himself, lest you be weary and faint in your minds." So we got to be careful to make sure we just stay the course. I'll tell this on myself. I was down in Burnsville, North Carolina, just when you cross Sam's Gap before you get to Asheville, and I was doing a bike ride, and there were several of us guys, and it was a metric century, and we started, and they'll have these pilot cars in front of you till they get you out of town. We were probably 3 miles into the race, but that particular day, if you've never, you'll hear them talk about drafting and stuff in NASCAR, but believe me, if you're a chubby guy on a bicycle, you'll understand the significance of it more than you've ever thought you would, because if you got a bunch of guys in front of you, or if you're in that peloton or that line, they'll pull you down the road. You'll see them pedaling like crazy, the guys in front of you, and you'll just turn your pedals every now and then, and that's the reason they rotate out when you see them do that. But that particular day, there was 250 some riders, and I got up toward the front, and everybody started falling off, and we were about probably 3 or 4 miles out of town. What it was, we were running a long section of primary road, And as soon as we turn off that road, that pilot car was going to drop us. Well, we get to the end of that. And of course, they said Greg Maggard come up to Jeff or one of those guys, and he said, "What does he think he's doing?" Because I looked, and all of a sudden, I'm right up to the car, and I'm the lead guy, and you know, you're wearing yourself out when you're doing that. And I wasn't no. I like to ride bicycles, but I wouldn't consider myself a cyclist by no means. And the next thing you know, we hit a big hill, and they all just blew by me. Everyone passed me. Needless to say, I finished the race, but I was at the back of the pack by the time I finished. But I laugh and think about that. If we'll just be steady and stay the course, you know, I think about, you know, Paul says over in 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians 4:17-18, said, "For our light affliction is but for a moment." And we say, whoa, wait a minute, for a moment? It says, "It worketh for us a far more exceedingly and eternal weight of glory, while we look not on the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal," so they're temporary, "but the things which aren't seen are eternal." So I think if we need to get more of an eternal perspective, and realizing, you know, you say, whoa, it's a light affliction. Sometimes we can feel like it's very heavy affliction, or we'll all go through things. But the point and the thing we have to think about is when we have to look at it in comparison to what's in front of us, and that being eternity. So I hope you guys have a great day. And if I don't get to see you this weekend at church, I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a blessed, enjoy time with your families. God bless you. I love you guys.